Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Top One, DJ here in London, and in this video I'm going to be going through my mix out on my project, on one of my remixes here. This is the mix out stuff, not mastering. I'll do another video on that. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So the mix out is here. So basically everything is summed up into this final bus here, final mix. And yeah, I've got my mix out chain here basically, and we're just going to go through it, and it's more or less like in two parts. So the first part is based off a typical mix out you would have done if you were an engineer in the 80s, 70s, 80s or whatever, where you would have your mixing desk, you'd sum your mix out to the final two tracks on your desk, like 31, 32, and then that would go out into your EQ, into your bus compression, and then onto some tape. So that's basically what we're doing here. So first up is a desk, Focusrite. That's what's happening here. I'm not actually doing anything with any of this. All I've done is turned up the true harmonic distortion just to add a little bit of saturation there. So without it, with it, sort of takes away the harshness. It just kind of warms the whole thing up a little bit. So there you go. I like to add in the dangerous EQ and cut from 12 and 70 just because it gets rid of sound that we can't perceive, and just helps to clear up. One, it clears up the bass, but also with this cut at the top, it's so tiny. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not on this, but when it's out, it's great, it's fine, and then when you add it in, it just makes those highs just sound a little bit clearer. It's so tiny. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's weird because we can't even hear that sound. We can't even hear 70 kilohertz. But it affects everything else. Everything's affecting everything else. Anyway, that's like an added extra. Usually it'd be desk, and then we go into our EQ. So we're going to do a Pultec, classic Pultec trick. We do a boost at around sort of 3 or 4, around 60 hertz. So we're adding that bass, and then we're boosting at 2 at around 12 kilohertz, 16 kilohertz, whatever. Make sure you've got your bandwidth on broad as well, so that you're doing this broadly rather than jabbing at various frequencies. And then also we want to make sure we do our gain staging. So if I take this out, naturally you can hear it gets louder, so we want to go down to -3. And we're roughly there. You can hear it's got bassier. The highs again are less harsh. I find a lot of dance music and stuff sometimes, especially with samples and things you're downloading off like Splice or whatever, there's an awful lot of high end in there, so you don't really need to do much on the high end. If anything, you probably want to tame it. So yeah, we got that, and then we go into a bus compressor. This is the Townhouse bus compressor. This is based off an SSL bus compressor. I really like it because it's just got a bit more grit to it. So with this sort of track, I just want a bit more grit. Off. That's on. Just kind of gives it a bit of a hug. It makes it a bit punchier. And again, we're adding saturation and stuff. Settings for this attack, you want the slowest attack possible, so 30 milliseconds. You want a slow attack so that you're letting the transients through, and then it's jumping on it, so it's punchier. And then a fast release. You might want to test I always go sort of between 0.1, 0.3. If you're doing slower music, maybe you're going to use 0.6 or 1 and 2. Auto, maybe. I don't know. I never really use that because I do electronic music, house music, tech, whatever. 0.1, 0.3 usually going to be absolutely fine. And then there's a bit of makeup gain here. Just so again, I'm gain staging because as you add the compression, you're going to bring the volume down a little bit. And then finally, this is the first part. You go in tape machine. Off. gives it a bit of a hug. I think it does sort of drop with the Kive audio. It does kind of drop the gain a little bit. I kind of leave it as it is. You can like mess around here with the input and output. Like you could take the link off and you could drive the output a bit more if you needed to. But I tend to just sort of leave it as it is because it works. It kind of works. So yeah, off we go. And then now I've got a really nice warm sounding deep track. And that's basically it. So if you just do this, you are ahead of 99% of people basically. So you want to go into a desk, then you want to go into your EQ, get this is the Waves one, or get the Universal Audio one, whatever. This trick works like basically every time. Love it. It's a passive EQ as well, so it's basically when you're boosting the lows, you're not actually boosting the lows, you're cutting the highs and then gaining the whole signal up, which is a much more musical way of boosting stuff rather than just finding the area you want to boost and shoving it up. And then you go into your bus compressor, really only a tiny amount, like find your loudest point, tiny amount, and then you go into a tape. That's it. That's what would happen in the studio. If you're working in the 80s, that's what happened in the studio. That's why the records sound great, and that's what you're going to do. Then I go on to the sort of more modern technology. I just want to add a little bit more to the production, just to really like add some more color, and give the mastering engineer as well. This isn't mastering. This is just the mix. Just give the mastering engineer just a really nice sounding track to work with, so they don't have to do too much to it. So up next is the Amec EQ200. I'm not doing anything with the EQ here unless I really need to. I'm more or less looking at this box down here. The Mono Maker, I'm doing 63 and below. Why 63? I'll do another video on that. If you want to know about that, drop a comment. It's to do with EQ and octaves and things, but we won't get into it. So 63 below, that's bass. That's like the bass region. And I want to put that in the middle so that it's mono, and when I'm playing at clubs and stuff, the bass isn't flying around everywhere. It's like really super focused. It's punchy. It's going to sound good. And then I'm adding a tiny bit of stereo width at this point. So I just want to make my production a little bit bigger. I add stereo width in the next plugin too. So I'm only adding 5% here, only a little bit. That's all you want to do, only a tiny bit. Then I love this plugin. This is the Vitalizer MK2T. Again, a bit of compression with the bass. It's really subtle. It's just gelling it so that it's not flapping around. Like, it's really easy to have really flappy bass, and you can hear it, especially on a loud or a big sound system when the subs are just kind of farting at you almost. So you want to really you don't want to make it tight or like grab it or squish it. You just want to make sure it's in its little bubble so that it's pumping and that the subwoofers could do their job, And then the magic really happens here in this mid-high tune bit. If you listen. So obviously I maxed that out, but you can hear how like the highs are super like clear and crispy, and then the bass just starts to run. Right? And then if we have it all the way, if we go this way, you lose the highs. This way, you get the mids. So I found, depending on your track, I found that the sweet spot is sort of between 6 and 3. And then again, you only want to process it a tiny bit. Around 4, I can just hear that bass start to rumble and roar a bit, and I get a nice bit of crisp up there with the highs. And then I've added round 2 stereo expander. So I've just started to do it a tiny bit. If you do it too much, you can just hear it warp, and you can hear that it's fake. But just a tiny bit over a couple of plugins that you just can push your stereo field that little bit more than most people would. Then we got the Oxford Inflator, around 60, curve 20, -3. That's usually what I use. If I'm at 0, let's zero this out. There we go. And you can hear it's got louder. So just pushing that. It's making the whole thing fatter, and because I've done all these other little nice steps all the way through, I'm just making it fatter. But we've got a gain stage, -3. So you can hear here it's got fatter, but I'm not getting louder. Okay, we don't want to make it louder, but it's taking all of that beautiful saturation, all of those harmonics, all these little tiny bits of processing I've done, and now I can push it. And then the final bit I've got at the bottom here, I don't do it all the time, but it's probably quite, especially for like dance music and things, I've got a multi-band compressor because I want to control this low end a bit more. It's really tiny. It's not. It's just that tiny little bit there. Where am I going from? I mean, I'm going from 199. I mean, I really like. To be truth be told on this, I usually hit the learn button. A lot of you might be like, "What are you doing hitting the learn button?" It's it's kind of good, and it just gives it helps. The AI is helping me like split out the track in like perhaps the best possible way. So like this is just controlling that 200 hertz and below, or 150 hertz and below. 150 is usually like the crossover point as well between like the subwoofers and then like your top speakers or whatever. So yeah, like 200 and below, and it's just gelling it all together so that anything that is going into those lower speakers is all like controlled. Yeah, relatively fast attack, fast release. It's really not doing that much. It's like max -7 point, -0.7, and that's it. And then I've done a really cool thing here on the top end, where I've done a really slow attack, fairly fast release, to get the highs sounding just a bit more crisp and a bit more attack to them. So if you listen to how they are at the moment, they're kind of like quite long, and then when I add it in, it's just like that kind of like really bouncy. It's got more attack, and that's it. That's basically it. That is it. So that's the whole mix out thing, really, in a nutshell. Like I say, if you just do this first part, desk, EQ, bus compression, tape, you could just leave it there, to be honest. I like to just go that step further just to really like enhance my tracks. I'm learning new things every day as well. I mean, this is, like I said, just one way of doing it. If you guys got any other ways of doing things or any other ideas, then whack them in the comments and stuff. But that's basically it. I'll try and bring a little cheat sheet out as well with this written down, that you'll be able to grab. So like just pay attention for that. I'll whack a link up somewhere like in the description or whatever. Once I get around to doing it. But yeah, anything else you guys want to know about, any questions, like smash them in the comments. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Really means a lot. But yeah, thanks so much guys for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.